Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Derk de Geus, co-founder of Paladin Studios and chairman of the Dutch Games Association. And with me are three exceptional people from the Dutch games industry, and we're going to have a chat about the COVID-19 pandemic. So I will do a really quick introduction. We have Martine from Tamalaki, a worldwide publisher going semi-solo, partnering with developers and FGL and doing amazing casual games. Tim from Grendel Games, basically a world-renowned game studio focusing on serious games, for example, for medical applications. And then we have Matthijs from Twirlbound, a fresh startup with a super ambitious project that just launched on, I think, pretty much every platform.
PC and Switch for now, but yeah, the rest is coming PC, up. So, okay. Yeah.
All right. So, and actually, let's jump right in to the questions, because this is a topic that we can talk about for hours, and we only have 30 minutes. So I think starting in January 2020, we basically had a booming industry. We were all happily working with our teams at the office, or maybe some of us were working remote. And now, fast forward like 6 months later, we've been locked in our rooms for months. How are you guys personally doing work these days? So what does a typical day look like for you? Martina, maybe you can start.
Sure. Well, I think on sort of the surface, not much changed, because I've already been working from home for the last 8 years. But that definitely doesn't mean that nothing changed. Like the studios that we work with, they have offices, and they definitely had sort of their struggles to try to work from home. But also a huge impact was the conferences, of course. Usually in like a normal year, I travel to about 10 conferences. I mean, there used to be times I did like 25 conferences a year, but that already slowed down to like 10 a year. And that's where I just meet so many potential new developers to work with. And I try to attend a lot of digital conferences now, but of course it's not the same as like the real deal. So slowing that down was had quite a big impact on sort of our incoming stream of new projects.
Thanks. We'll get back to that topic very soon. So, Tim, how are you situated? You're working from home now, or is this?
Yeah. I'm working from home now. So this is my study, and working from home is not really a problem, but it does come with certain challenges. The biggest one is that I have very small children, and so have a couple of people that work at our company. And it's just an amazing distraction trying to do all the work when you have really small children and there's no other place for them to go. Especially if your significant other also has work. So it's a balancing act. It's been a balancing act. Working from home is not a problem. Most of the work I can do from home. And most of our customers are abroad, so they only know our faces from Zoom meetings, right? So we just put the company logo in the background, and nobody's none the wiser. And our team has adapted very well to working from home. It led to a couple of amazing insights. Also, it's not all doom and gloom. But we can talk a little bit about that later, I guess.
Yeah, definitely curious to hear those insights. Matthijs, how are you?
Yeah, to be honest, not much has changed for us in the sense that we have been working from home for a while. But recently, just a few weeks ago, we all started dripping in back into the office. And it's actually quite special that I'm here at home now. Usually I'm just at the office as normal because we have a lot of space, so we can take our distance there. And for the past weeks, to be honest, like when the outbreak started and the lockdown started, you get this really productive vibe for a few weeks. You're super productive at home. At least I was, because I never work at home. And after a few weeks, that starts to falter a bit. And I did a bit too much Animal Crossing in between work. That was a very unlucky launch. And then I figured, well, if nobody's at the office, then I will go. So I was there alone for a while, and then more and more people joined me until we're basically back to normal. But yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's just a bit less productive to meet, but other than that, it's been okay for us. I don't have children. I think that's a big challenge that I should be lucky with right now.
Yeah, that seems to be the big hurdle for many people. In general, do you see a reduction in productivity, or do you feel it's roughly the same, or maybe even improved?
Who wants to?
Anybody who wants to.
For us? Oh yeah, go ahead.
In general, we are actually really productive at the company, so there's not a problem in terms of getting the work done. And the funny
what's your magic ingredient there, Tim? Because you had some insights on that.
I don't know. I don't know. Okay. For that particular bit, I don't know. I think the team is everybody knows each other really well. I mean, most of us have been employed at the company for at least 15 years, so we definitely know each other, right? So that's a big advantage. But at the same time, we always felt, I think, that when we are looking for people to hire, they needed to come into the office. And the funny thing is that now that we actually see that productivity is really good working online, we start to think like, hey, okay, let's just let that go for a minute, because it's perfectly fine to hire someone from the other side of the world, as long as we can figure out the time differences and so on and so forth, because it's not negating the work that needs to be done. So I think that's really positive.
So Martine, you are working with developers from all over the world. How is that? How has the pandemic affected that partnership?
Yeah, well, a lot of our teams already, get used to do some remote work. But our main studio in Indonesia, they have an office. You kind of, in Indonesia, for the longest time, they were still you're coming to the office, and it only was a time span of a few weeks that they were really, it was really enforced to stay at home. And within that period of a few weeks, we did see delays in the work schedule and the production schedule, because a lot of them work on desktops that you don't just pick up and bring home. And even if they did work on laptops to bring home, then internet connection wasn't sort of as good for everyone. I know some of the guys were actually sort of from their phone sort of connecting to their laptop to do work over cellular, over the Wi-Fi on the phone. So that's, I think your whole team is in the Netherlands. You probably don't encounter such issues that much. So I was really happy that in Indonesia, the restrictions were only for a couple of weeks. I think it was mostly in April, and after April, we could sort of resume our regular work schedule again.
Matthijs, you were dealing with international partners for the launch of Pine.
Yeah.
How did that go during the lockdown?
Well, to be honest, a lot of it was on our shoulders still, finishing the development of certain versions, so a Switch update and a PC update. And the translations, for example, for the Korean and Japanese version that are done by a different publisher, that all went quite according to plan. But things like the rating board, the serial rating board for Japan, that's all delayed by quite a lot. They had a shutdown for a month. So certification processes and rating processes were just definitely a lot slower. And also talks to publishers in China that we were doing as well. That's also just a lot slower. So yeah, it's a bit of both worlds. I think we are in a lucky spot where we didn't have any urgent deadlines. Like, I cannot imagine having to launch a game specifically and having announced that date, etc. Which, yeah, I mean, that's the lucky part, that we were in between projects. Like, we don't have really that urgency on Pine, and we have a new project that we're working on that we can easily do like separately and on our own at home. So yeah, we were in a lucky spot again, I guess.
Okay. And but Pine launched during lockdown, isn't that the case?
No, just a bit before that. So end of November 2019 was
yeah.
on Switch. Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
We kept updating it though, and but everything was basically live and happening as it were. So the only hard part was that we had to make some quick decisions on some of the porting work, and suddenly that had to be taken home. But dev kits obviously can be taken home, so we had to figure out a bit of that infrastructure, right, with VPNs and secure connections and all that. But we figured it out pretty quickly, and then everything was kind of up and running.
Yeah. Tim, speaking of hardware, you mentioned that you guys are working with some interesting hardware as well. How do you deal with that situation?
It's quite similar. So we work for a company in the US. I'm afraid I can't mention the name, but they do robot surgery, and basically we create their game training to train surgeons and residents in the use of a robot arm for very complex surgery tasks. And it's sort of like a dev kit, but it's a bit bigger. It's a pretty big console that you use to drive the robot arm and to do the surgery with. And we physically can't move it. Legally, we can't move it, and it's directly connected to our customer in the US. So we made a pretty rigid scheme who can go to the office when there was a complete lockdown, because there was just a necessity to keep these things going. In healthcare, most of the people are they keep working, even at the big medical companies. So there was also a need for us to do that. But we've worked it out pretty well, and I think now that the lockdown is kind of loosening up, we tend to go to the office a little bit more, but we also tend to keep respectful distance, because some of our staff members have significant others that work in healthcare, and we just don't want to run any risks.
No. And I guess last question about remote working. What is your plan for the next couple of weeks and months? Matthijs, you mentioned that there's a lot of people already sort of going to the office. Do you expect that to continue?
Yeah, I think we only have one more person who's not at the office. And I think he will join pretty soon. And then it's kind of back to normal, except for keeping a bit more distance. We've shoved all the desks apart from each other, and we have hand sanitizers, stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm not too worried. It's just part of it. And we're basically going as normal, it feels. At least I like going to an office to work. So that part is definitely nice for me, that I can just go back and do the normal thing that we always do, basically.
Mm-hmm. Tim, how is your team?
I think we will keep working like this, and we'll pretty much keep the rigid scheme intact, mostly because of the significant others, like I mentioned before. Mm-hmm. But we do tend to go to the office a little bit more. And I'm not sure. It really depends on how things work out. I mean, we're in a pretty rural region in the Netherlands, so there's not a lot of traffic coming in and going out of our province, which means that the cases are also low. So I think in general we have a lower risk than in large urban areas. So there might be a policy coming that basically everybody who's from the rural area gets to mingle a little bit more, and then we might do that. I do feel that it is important to meet each other face to face every now and then. And stuff like this, like using Discord and Zoom, we use all this technology, and it's really cool. But at the same time, you have a different kind of conversation. It's not an intimate conversation. So when you have like creative sessions, creative discussions, it just doesn't work as well as seeing each other in person. So I can definitely see us doing that in the nearby future. we were fortunate that wasn't really needed at this point because most of the designs were already locked in. So it was just a matter of developing. But now new projects are starting. I definitely see the benefit of meeting each other face to face to have that creative spark be there in a physical kind of way.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Martina, what's your take on that?
Also not much change here with also the home office already. But what I used to do before the pandemic was quite just a lot of visits to studios and just like reaching out. And I think I'm slowly going to start that up again. So, for example, one of our developers is in Germany, not too far across the border. So I think he and I will soon enjoy a cup of coffee together again somewhere on the terrace.
Yeah. And for us, we also had our first meeting, executive team meeting recently. I think it was last week that we came together. We basically just went outside. So we picked a terrace outside, and it was really nice to just have a face-to-face conversation again.
I guess for the sense of that, it's good that we're now entering summer and not winter. Because like the whole stay outside and don't spend too much time indoors, good ventilation stuff would have been a lot harder.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
I'm still on the fence whether we should go back full time to the office or whether we should do some sort of hybrid situation. Thinking like maybe a clubhouse would be nice, that you can just have brainstorms and things like that.
Yeah.
But, I don't know if everybody needs their own desk, and if so, then like you, Matthijs, you mentioned you have a lot of space, right? I think you need a lot more space to facilitate the distancing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the trade shows, because I think we've all in different degrees, we all depend on them or used to depend on them for acquisition, but also marketing. Now they're gone, and I'm wondering. How has that impacted you, and what alternatives have you found to be useful?
I think
Tim, you had a nice.
It was just. I think it was roughly 2.5 years ago that we decided that we wouldn't let all the acquisitions just depend on me and another guy in the office. One of the reasons was I just didn't like only doing acquisitions. It's a big burden to bear, and you don't get to do a lot of creative stuff, which is something that I really, really like. But I just didn't have time for it anymore because I was doing acquisitions, and we started investing in search engine optimization and just general creating an entire framework, that online framework that creates a sales funnel. And an acquisition funnel, and that worked out really, really well. So I think we're now about 2 years further in time. And what we noticed was when the pandemic started setting in good and well, there was still a lot of work coming in through our digital channels. So the sales funnel was still filled up, and we were very fortunate that we had already acquired work for at least another year, at the very least. So we're very fortunate in that regard, but I'm still worried. I mean, you're absolutely right. We're not talking to people that we don't know except through the internet. And it's super cool that people go to your website, they read articles about you, and they become interested and they contact you. And that might convert to a project, and it does. But at the same time, you really want to drive your acquisition. So we always kind of micro target what we want to do. We have a very clear and distinct vision. There are only 3 pillars that we work for: education, medical, and sustainability. And they all have to fit in a very tight niche. And there needs to be a business model, for instance. So it means that we need the right kind of customer, a customer that can also be a launching customer. It needs to be a big corporate organization, and we need to be able to drive long-term revenue. And this means that you proactively have to reach out to them, which you can do, obviously. I mean, we have LinkedIn and so on and so forth. So there are good ways to reach those parties, but at the same time, we're talking about pretty big projects. They're usually multiple hundreds of thousands, in some specific cases, up to $1 million or $1.5 million dollars, and that deal probably won't be settled through Zoom. Traveling is out of the question for now. So I am on the fence about how are we going to do this the next couple of years, because this thing is not going away. I mean, it doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon, unless there is a remedy and the vaccine. So to conclude my thoughts, I'd say I'm very happy that we invested in SEO. I'm very glad that strategy has been paying off for us. But that's mostly a work for hire situation where you still want to do your micro-targeted acquisition for that fits your very specific vision. It's a lot more challenging than it used to be, because there are no conferences, there are no large events, especially not in healthcare.
Yeah, right. And at the same time, I guess for applied games, healthcare, education, a lot of it is going virtual. So I can imagine there are opportunities.
That's the big plus side. I mean, we had the Garfield's Count Me In math training game, and we saw it blowing up, literally. I mean, we sold it to a Dutch publisher, Dutch educational publisher, some time ago in a partnership deal, and then out of nowhere and out of everywhere came people that started asking questions, and I think we signed up to 3,000 to 4,000 schools that are literally using our application during the pandemic. So that's been super cool, because we can see all the data, we can see that the game actually makes a difference, and we can see not only schools but people at home, parents adapting to it and using those video games to do math training in this case. And that's something that I found really positive and I was very happy with. So we made that particular application for free during the lockdown because we thought that was important. We didn't want to prey on parents that were already in a tough situation. And but that's been usually gratifying.
Cool. And what about entertainment? Lack of trade shows. How did it impact you in terms of the way you do business? Martine, can you maybe share a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember right up to the week before GDC, I still thought that, there might be sort of a chance to go there and go networking for the alternative GDC that we were putting together. But then it was just completely shut down a week before. But I saw that some other conference organizations kind of jumped into the void pretty quick. So already 2 weeks later, Pocket Gamer had theirs for the first digital conference, and they just had their second. And there's some others. Sorry, what was that?
Of course, INDIGO here.
INDIGO here of course. I see that a lot of conferences are sort of trying to make the best of it, and come up with digital alternatives that are put together really well. Especially when you consider that organizing a conference usually is a process that takes at least half a year. Most of them take a year, and then this had to be put together in a month or so. So that is really impressive, and I like the quality of networking as well. And usually at a conference you bump into people, and then it can be a great connection. And of course here the format is different, and you spend more time hand picking sort of the meetings that you're going to have. With the result that the meetings are really high quality, and I already sort of close to signing up a new deal with a developer that I met at a digital conference. So all in all, I sort of miss it, the whole sort of vibe of it. But I think with these digital alternatives, we don't have to worry about sort of our business drying up or something.
Do you think so if I hear you correctly, then because you're also from the publisher side, there's still a willingness to sign these deals, take these risks?
But I do have to say that my deal size is relatively small in the sense that when we sign up a developer, we set aside a budget for soft launch, and we set some goals for soft launch, and when those goals are not reached, then part ways again. So that means that when we sign up a developer, we're not immediately talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're talking about a smaller budget. So that makes the whole decision-making process also a little bit faster and easier, and that's why it's also suitable for digital only.
Yeah. Matthijs, anything to add there from the developer perspective?
Yeah, as a team that, for Pine, we had a publisher, and for the next project, we want one as well, because we don't want to carry this ourselves and have the experience of a publisher alongside us. I know from experience there that it took us around 6 months to, actually sign with a publisher from the first professional, real talks that is not just bumping into someone in the hallway. So we thought at some point, oh, well, Gamescom, by then easily everything will have opened up, right? So we'll just go to Gamescom and meet some publishers there for the next thing. And then early next year, we can, get serious about signing stuff. But now it's a bit different. But if you look at these online conferences, I'm just super impressed at how effective they are, because everyone just agrees and acknowledges that, okay, we're not going to meet each other in person, so we're just going to make the best out of it here. And the conversation is just, like Tim said, usually on Zoom, I feel like, or Discord, I feel like, it never gets too deep or too serious about things. But right now, also here at Indigo, I'm noticing, it's actually shifting a bit for me, that people understand that this might be the only way we get to talk for the next year. So, the conclusions are a bit more concrete, if that makes sense, than they used to be online. And that's really nice. I think that it's cool that we are all adapting to it and just shifting towards this more serious tone in online conferences, even though it's not as direct.
I agree. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Exactly.
And, I think the thing that we noticed is that there has been a slowdown. So especially in the first month or two, I think people were really just, okay, how are we doing this? So let's wait and see, right? So I think where typically a deal would take 6 months, then I think there was a bit of a break moment right after the pandemic started and the lockdown started to happen. But I can also, from my experience, see that it's really picking up again. And,
cool.
There's a willingness to keep going. So that's great. So
and obviously there need to be new games. I mean, we need to slobber the beast,
totally.
Specifically when you're inside, you just want to enjoy yourself with some entertainment.
Yeah, there's a market for it, so you miss out on a lot of opportunities as a publisher if you don't keep going, right? So I guess that's definitely something. So overall, what would your advice be to people listening in terms of future-proofing their studio, working remotely, or their business development efforts? Any tips? Or it could be small thing, could be big things. Anything you would like to give?
Well, if I may, I saw a good question in the chat just now from, I think, somebody looking for internships, if I'm correct. Because that's an interesting topic I know there's a lot of interns always at Indigo and probably watching. For us, we just want to try and keep going with interns as we normally would. The only weird thing is traveling might get a bit more difficult if the government is actually shutting down the student OV or limiting it somehow during the pandemic. Relocating is obviously not as nice right now. So there are these difficult things, but just know that developers, at least if I speak for us, we're just going to try and make it work, because, that also needs to keep going, and we like interns and having interns. So don't be discouraged, I would say, by the whole thing, and just keep asking and doing as if nothing is happening, and you'll figure it out.
Yeah. Sorry, I missed that internship question.
That's okay. That's okay.
Thanks for bringing it up, because apparently my chat window was not scrolling correctly. So, and also to add my 2 cents there from Paladin's perspective, we are still, looking for internships. I think the main question is about flexibility in terms of working remotely. Yeah. Because that is something that would have to be in place for us to consider. That actually also opens up the possibility. We're still debating whether we should go, full remote and really lean on that, or whether we should go back to the old ways. If we go fully remote, then of course, internships from all over the world could be possible. And otherwise, we would look for local people who are flexible and do both, do either. Tim, any parting advice?
Like I said, if you're into applied games, make sure that you niche target your SEO. Make it as niche as possible. Make sure that you shine. Make sure that you really stick out, because that way people are noticing you and they will contact you for assignments. Don't make it too broad. Make it really niche. Make it with surgical precision, basically.
Yeah, I think that's really excellent business advice in general. And also for entertainment, I think it goes as well. If you're known for a certain niche game, a certain type of genre, or quality of art or something like that, then it might be very helpful in building up that portfolio and pedigree. Martine, any final words?
I guess to kind of add on to that, more specifically for indie developers who are counting on Gamescom, Indie Mega Boost packs, and whatever to get their game out, to just go for the online alternatives, because there's as I said before, there's a lot of online alternatives now. A lot of people more are looking for the digital alternatives simply because there is nothing else. So I think that is a great opportunity, and looking at it from the bright side, it can cost you a ton of travel costs. So,
That's true.
Yeah, totally,
for sure.
The coffee is cheap. I think that was another remark in the chat. That's
better here,
and to your taste. So it has some benefits as well.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Really appreciated the chat. We could probably go on for several more hours, but let's check in again next year. I would say next year, INDIGO, we should do another one, and then see how things have been going for you.
Thank you for having me. And,
thanks.
I hope everybody enjoys the rest of INDIGO. Bye-bye.
And good luck with the whole pandemic thing.